This webinar, which serves as an orientation to the ATE conference for new attendees. My name is Ellen Hause. I'm the Program Director for Academic and Student Affairs with the American Association of Community Colleges. And it's my pleasure to host this webinar for you today and to introduce my colleague Elaine Kraft, Director of the South Carolina ATE Center of Excellence and Principal Investigator for the Mentor Connect project, who will be joining me in this presentation. So on behalf of AACC, in partnership with the South Carolina ATE Center and the Mentor Connect project, we welcome you. It's our hope that this webinar will help orient you to the conference, help you maximize your time at the meeting, and give you an opportunity to answer any questions you may have prior to the event. And speaking of questions, if you have questions at any time during this webinar, please don't hesitate to type them into the chat box. We'll be pausing for question breaks throughout the webinar. And I also want to note that this webinar is being recorded, and the recording and the slides will be available on the conference website early next week after this live event. So to go ahead and get started, I wanted to begin by going over what we'll cover this afternoon or this morning, depending where you're located. We've broken the webinar down into the following sections, and we'll be breaking after each section to address your questions. So we'll be providing a general conference overview, touch on registration, hotel, and travel. We'll go over the conference content, types of sessions offered, and general flow to help you navigate the event. We'll go over ways to participate in the conference with detailed information on the showcase sessions. We'll talk about ATE program officers and some tips on identifying and connecting with them at the conference. We'll go over ATE student participation and other commonly asked conference questions. So for the conference overview, we'll cover the what, when, where, who, and why. And before we start that, I'd like to get a sense of who is in our audience. So we have a quick poll. If you could let me know if you've previously attended the ATE conference, if this year is your first time, or if we have some veterans in the audience. If folks could take a second to complete that so we can get a sense of who's participating today. Wonderful. It looks like the majority of you are, in fact, new ATE attendees, so we're excited to have you. And I'm also excited to see a few veterans in the group. Throughout the webinar, if any of our veterans have comments or insights that you'd like to share about your conference experience, we encourage you to contribute them in the chat box as well. If we could close the poll. Great. We'll move on to the what is it. So this is the National Advanced Technological Education Principal Investigators Conference, which we refer to as the ATE Conference or ATEPI Conference for short. It's a national professional development and networking event for ATE grantees and their project partners. And the event is co-sponsored by the National Science Foundation and the American Association of Community Colleges. It's primarily funded through a grant to AACC. And for those of you who may not be familiar with AACC, we're the primary advocacy organization for the nation's community colleges. We represent nearly 1,200 two-year associate degree granting institutions and more than 13 million students. We support member colleges through policy initiatives, innovative programs, research and information, and strategic outreach. And AACC has been working with NSF to host the annual ATE conference for the past 23 years. This is our 24th conference, and we're looking forward to it. So the where and the when, the conference is held in the Washington, D.C. metro area. We do this every year, so we're in close proximity to the National Science Foundation, so program officers are able to attend. It typically takes place each year in October, right after the grant proposal deadline. And the dates for this year are October 23rd through 25th. I just want you to note this is a Monday through Wednesday this year. Traditionally, this conference is held on a Wednesday through Friday. Due to availability, when we went to contract this meeting in the city, those were the dates available. But just so you know, this year is a Monday through Wednesday, but 2018 and 2019 will revert back to our Wednesday through Friday pattern. Here on the screen is an actual picture of the Omni Shoreham Hotel where the conference will be held, and it's a beautiful historic property near downtown DC. Hopefully you've seen this. This is our this year's registration brochure. Our theme is hands-on, minds-on, pathways to a highly skilled workforce, and we'll focus on the significant role that projects and centers are playing in creating and implementing successful and impactful career pathways resulting in a highly skilled workforce. I also just want to point out the conference URL. This is where to go for updated information on the conference, and we'll be getting the full agenda information up there next week or two. So who attends? Approximately 800 people attend the conference each year. Participants include ATE project and center PIs, co-PIs, and their grant partners from business, industry, K-12, and four-year institutions. NSF program officers and AACC staff attend, as well as selected guests representing the federal government and STEM-related nonprofits and associations. So we have a really good and enthusiastic group. And the conference also includes opportunities for approximately 50 students to attend, and we'll go over the student participation opportunities a bit later in the webinar. And now I'd like to turn it over to Elaine to talk about why you should attend. Elaine?
Thanks, Ellen. Perhaps the most compelling reason to attend the ATEPI conference is that NSF expects you to be there. Even so, it is really one of the nicest perks that come with being an ATE grantee. It is a privilege to be invited to attend as a principal investigator, project team member, project partner, college administrator, or project evaluator. An important function of the conference is to help you consider your project in the context of the overall national ATE impact on technician education. The conference provides a unique type of professional development not likely to be found elsewhere, especially the learning that results from peer sharing in the context of being an ATE grantee. You will learn things at the conference that will help you in your work today and in the future. You will be surrounded by people who are extremely interested in your work. Fellow ATE grantees who understand both the joys and the challenges of being an innovator in technician education. Now, Ellen, back to you for some information about registration, hotel, and travel.
Thank you, Elaine. So again, we'll go over registration, hotel, and travel arrangements. Hopefully you've received correspondence on this. We receive a list of active grant awards from NSF each year. And upon receipt of this list, we send out an email and printed materials to the project and or center PIs. And we want you to know that the communication regarding the conference initially only goes to the PI, as that's the information provided to us from NSF. And it's important that the PIs then share this information with their team members who are planning to attend the conference. And then as people register, we follow up with all registrants with updated information. So you can register online through our CVent portal. To register, you must have your grant number. Your grant number is used as the registration code, and that is requested when registering. And the number of attendees a project or a center can bring to the conference is actually designated by NSF and AACC. A certain number of slots are allocated with the goal of keeping attendance to a manageable size so we can promote networking and information sharing among the ATE community. So the chart on this screen breaks down what registration costs are covered by AACC and what should be covered by your grant. Each project receives 2 complimentary registrations along with complimentary hotel rooms, 2 hotel rooms for 2 nights. And projects can also bring up to 3 additional people and cover their lodging and registration fees. Centers also receive 2 complimentary registrations along with 2 rooms, hotel accommodation for 2 nights. And centers can bring up to an additional 5 people and cover their lodging and registration fees. And the project and center teams are responsible for assigning who on their team will be responsible or who will be receiving the complimentary registrations. So for those who do not receive a complimentary registration, the registration fee is $300 per person. As part of the conference, we also offer pre-conference workshops. They are an additional $50 per workshop. Everyone attending a pre-conference workshop is required to pay the $50 fee, including those receiving complimentary registrations. And please note that you can use your ATE grant funds to pay for registration and pre-conference workshop fees. These are allowable grant expenses. And then, of course, we're noting the registration deadline of September 26th, so that is coming up. To go into hotel, all individuals are responsible for making their own hotel reservations, and this includes those receiving complimentary registrations and lodging. You can make your reservations online or by contacting the hotel directly, and make sure to note the AACC ATE conference in order to receive the group rate. You'll be asked to provide a credit card to guarantee your room, as well as for any incidentals charged that you may incur during your stay. So AACC will cover room and tax for 2 nights for those individuals who receive the complimentary registrations. For those who pay for lodging, the rate is $259 per night plus tax, and this is for a single or double room. And for those who would like to stay additional nights, the room rate is the same. You would just be responsible for covering the cost of additional room nights. And the Omni extends the group rate based on availability up to 3 days before and 3 days after the conference dates. Note that when making your reservations, the rooms are not automatically put on the master account. So if you call the hotel and say, my room's supposed to be covered by AACC, the front desk will know nothing about that. We actually get the rooming list from the hotel after the cutoff date so we can compare it to our registration list and then accurately assign those that have complimentary registrations to also have complimentary hotel rooms for 2 nights. So that will be done after the hotel cutoff date on September 26th. And we ask when you check into the hotel that you please ask to see how your hotel room is being billed, and if there are any issues, report it to the registration desk, and we'll make sure to have your billing amended by the time that you check out. I also want to note that we have a good-sized block and an overflow hotel this year at the DuPont Hotel, and this is located 1 metro stop away from the Omni Shoreham Hotel. The information on the DuPont is also on our website. And we will be running shuttle buses every 30 minutes between the 2 properties during peak conference times to aid in accessibility. And again, if you've not done so already, and especially if you want to get into the Omni Shoreham, as there's a limited block of rooms there this year, be sure to make your hotel reservations by September 26th. For travel, all attendees are responsible for arranging and paying for their own travel expenses, and we provide information on area airports and ground transportation on the conference website. When arranging for travel, don't forget to factor in travel expenses such as parking, airport transfers, and meals not offered by the conference. For your reference, in terms of conference meals, we offer a evening reception on Monday night as part of the AT Center's showcase. It's a sizable reception. We don't call it dinner, but you potentially could make it so. And breakfast and lunch are offered on Tuesday and Wednesday. And note again, it is permissible for you to pay travel costs to the conference out of your ATE grant funds. So if you're a new grantee and did not have money or enough money budgeted toward ATE-PI conference travel, you can move money from another budget category to cover these costs. However, do not move participant support costs without seeking NSF approval first. And if you're in doubt about using grant funding to pay for conference travel, please contact your NSF ATE program officer. Okay, so just a quick poll on the logistics of registration. I have a new project grant. How many total people can I bring to the conference? Folks want to take a moment to answer. Okay. It's still coming in. The correct answer here is 5. A new project grant can bring up to a maximum of 5 people to attend. And if we could close this poll, we'll go into our next one. So of that 5, how many are complimentary? We want to take a second to answer that. All right, 100%. Everybody knows this one. Okay, I see the answers are climbing. Okay, yes, out of the 5, 2 receive complimentary registration and 2 nights, 2 rooms, 2 nights accommodation. Okay. And at this point, we'd just like to break and see if there are any questions on the initial overview and some of the logistical items on registration or hotel. And if not at this time, oh, yeah.
Hi, Ellen. At this time, there are not questions, but if anyone has any right now, feel free to enter them into the chat box. We'll give you a minute.
Great. Thank you, Tim. And again, happy to address questions as they come in. Yes. I see a question on the attire. We will cover that. We consider the conference to be business casual. We want you to be comfortable, to dress in layers, to wear comfortable shoes, as some of the meeting rooms are spaced out and a little bit of a maze to find. So definitely to be comfortable. So we'll wait a few more seconds here, and then we can move on and perhaps address them at the next break. I see that a couple are coming in. There's a question from Steve. I understand I can use travel money from another budget category, but I'm not sure I understand about not moving participant costs without NSF approval. Elaine, do you want to address that one?
Sure. Good for you, Steve. You picked up on that important point at somewhere along the line, perhaps with Mentor Connect. That participant support cost category is rather sacred, and you can't move money around within it or out of it without an NSF program officer approval. Now, what you can do, and what we talk about a little bit later in this webinar, is bringing students to the ATEPI conference. Students can be covered by participant support costs, and so if you've got money there that you could use to bring students with you to the conference, that's certainly a good thing to do. You certainly do not want to pull your participant support money out to support the PI, the co-PI, people who work at your institution, administrators, whoever's going with you. If you have actual participants in your project who are, from a different institution, or they're going to be involved in your project activities or something, and they are classified as participants for other reasons, it might be possible to bring them with participant support travel money, but if you didn't budget for that and it's not in the travel line, you would need to talk to your program officer.
Thank you, Elaine. Well, I think we will encourage you to continue to contribute questions to chat, and at this time I'll move forward and ask Elaine to talk about navigating the conference.
Okay, so you see on the screen all the various things that are going on at this conference, in addition to the 800 people that will be there with you. So how do you navigate a conference that offers so many choices? What should you do? Well, let's start with the opportunity to register for a pre-conference workshop. What happened? Let's see here. We kind of got ahead of ourselves here. There we go. I apologize for that. I'm not sure what happened. The pre-conference workshops provided by the ATEPI conference are not quite as optional as they may seem. If you are a new grantee, you should register for and attend the Getting Started pre-conference workshop. The focus of this workshop is on what you need to know to properly administer an NSF grant. Dr. David Campbell, an NSF program officer and a co-lead for the ATE program, and others will be sharing extremely important information that all grantees, but especially new grantees, really need to know. This is also an excellent pre-conference session for an administrator who is attending the conference with you. Administrators can help you communicate important information to your college business office, where most of the burden of compliance with federal regulations falls. Of course, the fact that your grant creates extra work for the business office is explained why your business office may not be nearly as excited about your award as you are. Other pre-conference workshops also provide an in-depth opportunity to learn and improve your knowledge and skills as a principal investigator. This is very often is your first time of being a principal investigator, and quite frankly, you don't know what you don't know, and this is a great place to start filling in those gaps. We encourage you to attend the ATEPI conference with a team. This will enable you to divide up your team and participate in as many pre-conference workshops as possible. You may use your grant funds to pay the additional $50 registration fee that is required for each of these pre-conference sessions. Again, the deadline to register is September 26th, so don't hesitate. The central message here is to come early and stay late. You will not want to miss a minute of this conference. As you can see, there are multiple options to choose from during the conference, including the plenary and concurrent sessions, breakfast roundtables, panel and discussion sessions, and everyone's favorite, the showcase sessions. I want to stress again the importance of attending as a team, dividing up your team to attend different sessions so that you maximize learning and networking opportunities. Expect to be very busy the entire time. So if you want to tour Washington, D.C., you need to plan to arrive early or stay late. a day early, a day late. As Ellen pointed out earlier, they honor the conference hotel rate should you want to come early or stay late. This conference is one that keeps you busy morning, noon, and night. Details about programming for the conference will be provided later in this webinar. So Ellen, I'm back to you for more information about the pre-conference workshops.
Thank you, Elaine. So the conference typically offers 4 to 5 pre-conference workshops each year. The Getting Started workshop for new grantees is one that happens each year. And then these are some examples of topics that we've had in the past to give you a sense of how the workshops are focused. This year's workshops, hopefully you've seen from the registration brochure, are getting started, moving it on up. So the process from moving from a new ATE grant into a project grant and through the ATE pathways. We have one on evaluation project reporting, 21st century learning skills, and using spatial tools and data to help with student recruitment. So these are meant to be hands-on sessions. There's still time to register for pre-cons. If you've already registered for the conference, you can go back online, even if you've already registered, and add a pre-conference workshop, just to give you a sense of the pre-cons. The conference then typically features 2 to 3 plenary sessions with keynote speakers. So we kick off the conference on the first evening with a plenary session that includes welcome and introductions from NSF. And this is a picture here of Celeste Carter, the ATE program lead, with our keynote speaker from last year, Andreas Schleicher, who was the director for the Directorates of Education and Skills with the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. He came to us from Paris, France, and talked about better skills, better jobs, and better lives. Just some examples of past keynote speakers. We had scientist and author Anissa Ramirez, Andre Thornton, Senior Manager for Technical Leadership Programs and STEM at Lockheed Martin. So we tried to get a mix of speakers, some representing industry, some that are working in STEM technician education. We also like to feature our own. This was a session that featured an ATE project that's having a national impact as a proven teaching and learning tool. It focused on the STEM guitar building workshops. We've also held plenary sessions where we've featured our ATE students who are now currently employed as technicians in the workforce, and we've profiled them alongside their industry employers. So the plenary sessions are strong sessions and usually involve a lot of opportunity at the end to ask questions of the speakers, and we certainly encourage you to do so. And then this is a photo of note from the 20th anniversary, and noting that next year will be the 25th anniversary of the ATE program. And this is NSF leadership standing with Congressman David Price, who was one of the originators of the legislation that funded and created the ATE program. So we have a good mix of folks from government, from industry that participate in these sessions. Actually, before I go that, let me just let you know, if you haven't seen the website, who this year's plenary speakers are. We're thrilled that our opening keynote speaker is Judy Marks, and she's the CEO of Siemens USA. On Tuesday morning, we'll have a panel session focused on community colleges build America's skilled technical workforce, featuring a community college president, someone from the National Science Board, Dr. Victor McCrary, and Nicole Smith, who's a researcher with the Center on Education and Workforce at Georgetown University. And there'll be a panel moderated by Celeste Carter. And then our closing speaker is Kim Montclair, and she's an associate professor in the Department of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering at NYU, where she also leads their Center for Entrepreneurship. And she'll be talking about student innovation and entrepreneurship and ways to recruit women into STEM fields. So we have some good speakers lined up for this year. In terms of concurrent sessions, there are typically 4 concurrent sessions that happen the second morning of the conference. So on Tuesday morning, there would be a plenary followed by 4 sessions. And these are more formal presentations or panel discussions that align with the conference theme. Our concurrent sessions are currently being finalized, but they'll focus on the following topics for this year. Student research and innovation. We'll be talking about a National Academy of Engineering report on engineering technology education in the U.S. and what that means for community colleges. We'll have a session featuring students on developing students and workers with 21st century professional skills. And we'll have a lightning round on student recruitment and retention strategies for underrepresented students. So that's just a flavor of the concurrent sessions. We also have breakfast roundtables each morning, where these are interactive discussion forums for a small group of 5 to 12 people seated around one table. Discussion sessions are led by ATE attendees, and they're designed to be informal information sharing sessions. So all of the breakfast roundtables will be listed in the conference programs, and participants can select which ones to attend. The seating at them is first come, first serve, and there's usually a lot of robust discussion. Then on Tuesday afternoon, we break out into several sessions. We offer panels, birds of a feather, and demonstration sessions. So AACC issues a call for sessions, and we ask conference participants to submit proposals to conduct these sessions, to share case studies and promising strategies and lessons learned with other attendees. And we schedule these as panels, discussion, or demonstration sessions, or as breakfast roundtables. So the panels are more formal presentation. Those are typically attended by 50 to 60 people. Birds of a feather sessions are more discussion-based, interactive at the table level, attended by 30 to 40 people. And demonstration sessions are 30-minute presentations that show how to use or apply a pedagogical tool or concept, and it walks attendees through a step-by-step explanation of that tool and how it can be applied or implemented. So just to give you a sense of how we break out the content in the afternoon. And then, of course, we have the showcase sessions, and these are the highlight of the conference. We spend a good amount of time on this webinar talking about the showcases. Last year, conference attendees, 96% of them responded that the showcases were the most valuable conference activity. And this is really an opportunity for grantees to exhibit their projects and share information with other programs, NSF, and with guests at the conference. So AT projects and centers present displays that capture the purpose and the products of their programs. And we have 3 showcase sessions at the conference, 1 for ATE centers on Monday evening, and 2 for ATE projects, one taking place Tuesday afternoon, one taking place Wednesday afternoon. And these also feature ATE students that showcase as part of these showcases. And these are some photos of booth displays so you can get a sense of the showcase sessions. And the showcase sessions do not run like a standard exhibit hall. We have no vendors in the hall. The session is really ATE projects and centers and designed to promote networking and information sharing among the ATE community. And now I'll turn it to Elaine to give you some more information about attending the showcases.
Thanks, Ellen. Approximately 250 ATE awards are active at any time. This means that there will be more information being shared at the conference than you can absorb. The conference program can help you prioritize your exploration during the showcases. The showcase abstracts, and there's a sample page on the screen, and it will be in your conference program, will enable you to identify projects or centers whose work is of greatest interest to you. It is also really fun and stimulating to shop for ideas beyond your discipline. Some of the most energizing partnerships and innovative work comes from cross-discipline collaborations. Come with an open mind, behave like a sponge, and just soak it all in. The ATE centers will be showcased on Wednesday night, as Ellen pointed out, and this showcase focuses on the largest investments in the NSF ATE program. Each center represents years of work and accomplishment. On Thursday and Friday, ATE projects will be showcased along with student exhibits. These showcases will include a mix of fresh ideas from those newest to ATE and ongoing projects being implemented by more seasoned PIs. In addition, at all 3 showcases, you will find several special exhibits that feature program-wide services. Examples of these special project exhibits include the Evaluate exhibit that focuses on providing support for project evaluation, and the Mentor Connect exhibit that features mentoring and technical support for ATE grantees and potential grantees. During the exhibits, you will be inspired by the work of other grantees, and you're likely to find the resources and possibly even the partners you need to make your project dreams come true. You are likely to pick up ideas for your next grant proposal as well. The showcase sessions provide an amazing opportunity to meet people and share ideas. The atmosphere is very social. All of you with ATE awards are expected to host one of these exhibits, so keep in mind that there are 3 things that will be of greatest interest to those visiting your exhibit. First is the great idea that got you funded, and to the extent possible, your outcomes. If you have materials and resources you can share to help others implement your best practices, those will be of great interest to those who stop by to see you. I want to emphasize that even if you've only recently received an ATE award, you are expected to participate in a showcase session. Your exhibit need not be elaborate. A few photos, graphs, or charts may be sufficient to convey the concept of your project. Plan to talk with people about your project during the showcase. Don't fill your exhibit board with heavy text. People will not come by your exhibit to read your print, but rather to talk with you about your project and your work. Focus your exhibit on highlighting the big ideas or outcomes you expect to achieve or have already accomplished. What is your main focus? Is it increasing female recruitment and retention into engineering technology? Infusing nanotechnology concepts into physical science courses? Or perhaps you are launching an internship program in geospatial technology. Whatever, keep your exhibit simple and to the point, and then rely on your conversations with participants to provide details about your work. Since there are 3 showcase sessions, you will also have an opportunity to shop for exhibit ideas for next year when your project will be more mature. Notice the sizes of the exhibits and the styles and features of the various exhibits. What appeals to you? Take some photos, and then you can model your exhibit on designs that you think will work best for showcasing your particular project next year. One last point. You should prepare an exhibit that is specific to the ATEPI conference. Using an exhibit for the purpose of advertising your college is probably not the way to go. You can recognize your college, of course, but your exhibit for the ATEPI conference should be specifically about your ATE project. And you should include the NSF logo and your grant number on all display materials so that you can use them elsewhere with proper attribution. Now to the yummy part. The food functions associated with exhibits are located adjacent to the exhibits and are always a treat. This arrangement provides great opportunities not only for exploring the exhibits, but also for gathering around a table with new friends and colleagues to pursue common interests. Okay, Ellen, at this point, let's take a short break and answer any questions our audience may have.
Hi, Ellen and Elaine. There were a few questions that came in over the break, or since the last break. One of them is, are those sessions referring to concurrent sessions recorded and available for viewing later?
Thank you. The sessions, we record the plenary sessions, so the ones that have the keynote speakers, so taking place Monday evening, Tuesday morning, and Wednesday morning. The plenary sessions are recorded, and those are available for download following the event. We do not record the other sessions at the conference. However, we post presentations and make presentations and any materials available for download.
Great. And then another person asked if all the sessions cost to attend.
No, the only the conference registration, if we go back to the project, so 2 are comp and 3 are paid. There's a $300 conference registration fee. That covers all of your sessions, or if you're comp, that covers all of your sessions. The only additional cost would be if you're planning on attending a pre-conference workshop. Those occur Monday afternoon prior to the opening of the event. If you're attending a pre-con, those incur an additional $50 fee, but there are no other sessions that have a registration cost associated with them.
Okay, great. Those are all the questions we have right now. As the webinar continues, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat, and we'll answer them at the next
Thank you. And I also want to reiterate that we are recording this webinar, and the recording and the slides from this webinar will be available on the conference website by early next week, and we'll send out a notification to all with links once that is available as well. So now we'll go into maximizing your engagement at the conference and talk about some of the opportunities to do so, such as submitting a proposal in response to the call for sessions, displaying at the showcase sessions. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about that, and even joining the conference steering committee to help plan the event. So I mentioned the call for sessions previously, and this is where we put this out to all grantees, and we ask ATEPIs and their team members to submit proposals to hold a panel, a birds of a feather, a demonstration, or a breakfast roundtable. I mentioned this as it's a really good way to get involved in the conference. Though the deadline for this year has passed, the call for sessions is really something to consider for future years of the conference as a way to get involved. And the showcase sessions. So this is one that's actually a requirement in terms of involvement, as we've talked about, where we asked each project and center is required to display. And though new grantees are in their first year of funding and may not have much to share, as Elaine was talking about, they're still encouraged to print out flyers and utilize a basic poster board to discuss the plans for their grant, and to really use the showcase as a place to network and to exchange ideas and build potential collaborations. So we're going to provide you with a little bit more information on how to prepare for the showcases. So this is a map of the exhibit hall, and it shows the layout for the showcase sessions. So AACC assigns all booth space for the showcases, and your displays will need to fit into the space offered by AACC. There are exact dimensions for both ATE center and project booths. It's on the website, and we'll go over it here as well. And your booth will need to fit within these dimensions. And as a tip, you may have noticed from some of the photos, you want to consider the height of your display, as the exhibit hall in the Omni Showroom has rather low ceilings. You would never know it, but it is actually a parking garage by day and an exhibit hall during our conference. They convert the entire parking garage into an exhibit hall, and it really works well. So all space for the showcase sessions must be reserved prior to the conference. Detailed information on how to reserve that space, again, is on the conference website, and you want to do so by September 19th. So September 19th is the deadline to reserve space for the showcase sessions. And on this slide, this is an example of a center booth. So AT centers are provided a carpeted 20 by 10 booth, 2 6 by 30 tables, and 2 chairs. And this is an example of a project booth. Projects are provided a carpeted 8 by 10 booth, 1 6 by 30 draped table, and 2 chairs. So you don't need to worry about ordering carpet or materials. We provide that for you. And in addition to providing booth space, tables, and chairs, we provide electric to each booth. So you'll have access to electrical outlets. And you can also reserve one of the pieces of equipment listed on this slide. You would just indicate that on when you're reserving your showcase booth if you would like AV provided to the booth. And as a new PI, again, you're not expected to have a permanent display by October, so we provide poster boards and pins, and you can request that as well through the showcase reservation process. So again, the display can be simple, as it really is an opportunity to share information. And now I'll turn it back to Elaine to talk a bit more about preparing displays.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ellen. Participating in the ATEPI Conference Showcase is an exciting way to share with others. But it's also a lot of work, so I'm going to help you a little bit with the work side of this. Prior planning can help eliminate some of the frustrations associated with this activity. Make sure that you have ordered and checked out all of your materials well in advance of the conference. Remember that everything takes longer than you think it should. Practice assembling your exhibit at your institution, because setup can be tricky. If there are items or graphics to be placed directly on the display or on the poster board that Ellen just described, they can make available, or arranged in front of the display after it's assembled, take photographs of your design during your practice run so that you can quickly duplicate the best design when you get to Washington. If your exhibit includes lights, you will probably discover that it takes someone very tall to attach the lights at the top of your exhibit. For this and other reasons, you may want to consider bringing at least one tall person to the conference as part of your team. Supplies, tools, ladders, and help are not typically available at the time you need to assemble your display. So think through everything in advance. Also, just a tip, don't tape your boxes so tightly that you can't get them open without the box cutter or scissors that you packed inside the box because you couldn't take it with you on the airplane. Guess how I know about that? Most exhibitors provide small giveaways to attract visitors and advertise their project or center. You want people to follow up with you after the conference. For that reason, your primary giveaways should be personalized with your contact information and perhaps website URL. As you visit exhibits this year, notice what items people have chosen for this purpose. Think about what will work for your project. Some people choose items related to their disciplines. Others attract people with candy, a customized luggage tag, or other low-cost item. Keep in mind that most people fly to the conference, and you have limited baggage space to take things home. Also, it is important to adhere to all applicable NSF and your own institutional procurement guidelines in providing this type of promotional item. The objective is to facilitate the spread of information about your project and make it easy for someone to connect with you after the conference. The nuts and bolts of getting your exhibit to the conference and back to your institution after the event can be grueling and expensive. Be diligent in figuring out all costs in advance. As you make plans to purchase and ship your exhibit, you will have an excellent opportunity to make new friends at your college. You will make friends with college purchasing as well as shipping and receiving departments. You will need their help more often than you realize. There is an exhibitor kit included in the conference registration packet that provides detailed information that you and your college will need to handle this task. Read the fine print. This bears repeating, read the fine print. For example, do not attempt to ship exhibit materials to yourself at the hotel. Ship your materials as instructed and well in advance of the conference. And don't forget, you need to make arrangements for return shipping to your college at the conclusion of your showcase session. These things do not magically happen. It is your responsibility to make appropriate arrangements and to get the financial approvals necessary from your college and payments made. All of these costs can be charged to your grant. Now, Ellen, tell people how they can get involved with planning next year's conference.
Thanks, Elaine. So you might wonder how the conference gets planned and who decides on what sessions we do. It's actually all of you. The conference is planned by a steering committee that consists of AACC staff, NSF program officers, and representatives from ATE projects and centers. The committees meet through monthly conference calls, typically from February through September, and steering committee members provide input into the conference agenda and help to develop and moderate the sessions. If you're interested in serving on a conference steering committee for future ATE conference planning, please let me know or contact the AC staff through the email listed on the slide. We also welcome ideas for speakers, for sessions. So if you don't want to be in the committee but you've got a great idea for a speaker or a session, please send it my way. We also heavily consult the conference evaluation survey that is distributed at the end of each conference. So we really encourage you to complete that evaluation survey and provide us with any suggestions for improvement and things you would like for us to see included at future conferences. We spend that first steering committee call going over the evaluation results and looking at what folks want and how we can address their needs through the conference agenda planning. So if you want your voice heard or if there's something you want us to offer, please do respond to that survey and make your suggestions known. And at this point, I think we're going to break for questions. If we have any in regard to showcases, or sure.
We do have a couple questions. One of them is asking if internet is available for showcase
Internet is
sessions.
not available in the exhibit hall, primarily due to prohibitive costs, but if you really would want internet for your booth, you can make arrangements yourself through the Omni Shoreham Hotel and pay for that connection. There is a form you would need to fill out and a person you would need to contact, and that information is in the exhibitor kit. So again, we don't provide internet connections in the exhibit hall, but you are welcome to make arrangements and pay for that expense yourself if you feel it's really needed for your booth.
Okay, great. Another question is asking if we need to include the NSF logo, AT logo on college promotional
Elaine,
items.
do you want to handle that one?
Ellen, yeah, I'll take that one. The NSF logo and attribution must go with any product of your project or work that was done paid by the grant. So if you took pins to the conference and passed them out that were not purchased with your grant funds, but they're just your college pins your college had printed with the college name on it just as a giveaway for the college, then you would not have to give an NSF any attribution for that. But if your grant funds paid for the item, or if you're distributing information or products that are a result of your grant activity, then you do need to have attribution. Now, that doesn't mean the NSF logo has to go on every item. But for instance, if you had a pin that had a URL to your grant project or center website, that on that website you would expect to find your grant number in the NSF attribution. So eventually the path should lead back to the source of the funding that made that work possible.
Okay, great. That makes sense. And then another question from Paul Weber. How to balance the combination of displaying, attending to display, and having time to browse with all the other displays? How do you balance that, your time at the exhibit hall?
Elaine, you want to
Well,
take that
again, I
one?
think that's a matter of, that's one reason why we strongly urge you to come as a team. PIs, co-PIs, bring other people from your college. And quite frankly, what I've learned over time is that if you can get your administrators, and the higher up the better, to this conference, you will have friends for life for your AT work, essentially. They will understand what a big whopping deal it really is to be an ATE grantee, and what an amazing program that you've become part of and brought your college into. I've taken college presidents, academic VPs, grant writers, evaluators, partners who were not at our institution, but say industry partners that work with us. All of these people are, it's a really, really good opportunity to help them understand what it is you're really doing in the context of this whole amazing program. So that's the biggest advice, is don't go solo. Take a team. And then while, a couple of your team members can stay at your booth while the others are, roaming around the exhibit hall picking up ideas, you just take turns. And because there are 3 exhibit periods, 3 showcases as we call them, at 2 of the 3 you will not have any exhibiting responsibility, so you will be free to look at all the other exhibits. But even when it's your turn to exhibit, if you divide up your group and you take enough people, you should be able to get around to see everything that interests you.
Great. And then one final question is asking, could we pay for the booth space using grant funds?
Just as a clarification, there is no cost to reserve a showcase. The booth space, the materials, the AV, the tables and chairs, that's all provided by AACC, so there's no cost to exhibit. The cost to your grant would be for any display materials. If you were to purchase a permanent display or a booth to take to the showcases, those are allowable grant funds. So any materials that you are displaying, but the space itself, there is no fee associated with. But any materials you would prepare to display, or if you were purchasing a permanent booth to take with you to set up in a showcase session, those could come out of your grant.
Okay, and just a quick follow-up question with that. Is the table skirting
Yes,
and tablecloths
the tables
included?
are draped tables, so the booths are carpeted, and the table is draped and it has a table skirt, and all the booths are pipe and draped.
I will clarify, however, that the only thing that is specific to your project is going to be a tiny little placard that's up on the wall saying that that's your space. Those nice table drapes you saw that had project names on them and so forth, those are items that an individual project or center purchased to lay over the table skirt that comes from AACC's arrangements for this.
Yes, that's an important distinction. So there is a tablecloth and it is skirted, but if you wanted your name prominently displayed, you could do that in display material or do it through an additional tablecloth that you brought. We do supply a placard, and there's some pictures of those in the showcase sessions, but those are really identification for you to find your booth, as opposed to being an ID sign, that would profile your project or center. They're more notification of this is where you set up. So to keep that in mind when preparing your materials as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, this discussion is prompting some more questions. Another one is asking, what if you could explain what most exhibits look like for newer grant projects.
Well, that really varies. Occasionally you'll see somebody who brings a pop-up or trifold table display that is their college's, that's used for other things at the college, but the content that they put on it is specific to their project. Other people will just bring some items that can be tacked up to the little display boards that they're like science fair project boards, if you remember those, that AACC will provide for new grantees if they want to use those. I don't know, Ellen, I don't believe we included any pictures of the simplest of our displays. But for instance, we have students who come and display, and sometimes their displays are they're wonderful, but they're not always really elaborate. Except people are really interested in talking to you and hearing about your project. So, you'll see some very impressive looking displays, and it attracts attention and brings people over to talk to you. But once they get there, they're really interested in what you have to say. So I wouldn't lose sleep over making sure you've got the world's greatest display, particularly if it's the first year.
Yeah, and when we get through this,
Ellen, you may want to add to that.
No, I was just going to say, when we get through the student showcases, you can see a lot of the newer projects mirror how some of the student displays look, and that we provide a trifold kind of cardboard poster board, and they've pre-printed graphics and materials to pin to those boards on site, and then they also have handouts available. So they're clean looking and they're simple, and again, as Elaine said, people are really interested in talking with you, so you don't need to have an elaborate display, and that's why we provide you with poster board, so you can print out some graphics, print out some material, and then literally append it on site to a poster board and be good to go.
Okay, great. Let's move on with the presentation. If there's any more questions, we can answer them at the next break.
So we'll talk quickly about your ATE program officers. So one of the questions that we consistently receive from ATE grantees is, how do I identify my program officer? How do I connect with them at the conference? If you need assistance in identifying your program officer, you don't know who your program officer is, the Teaching Technicians website has a section entitled Help for PIs, and that offers a step-by-step instructions on how to navigate NSF's website to find the listing for your program officer. Note that NSF is currently in the process of updating some program officers for the ATE program. I was talking with Celeste Carter, who says she'll know those assignments shortly. So if you go through this process and see a retired program director, that will be updated soon. But this is the process for finding out who your program director is, going through the NSF website. In terms of identifying them on site, AACC provides photos of the program officers in the conference program. So you see the program page from last year, so these folks will be identified in the program. NSF program officers wear red ribbons that identify them as NSF under their badges, so you can look for those as well. And we have them stand at the plenary sessions. So in terms of connecting with your program officer, as the conference is attended by approximately 800 attendees and your program officer manages several grant awards, it's unrealistic to think you're just going to find them when you walk into the conference. It really can be like finding a needle in a haystack. So if you really would like to try to meet with your program officer at the conference, we suggest you contact them ahead of time, email them in advance, and try to make arrangements to meet them before you arrive. Once on site, NSF program officers are likely to be in the showcase sessions. They do make sure to come around and touch base with you. On this slide, there's Celeste Carter above, and below is Corby Hause. Both are ATE program directors going through the showcases and touching base with their grantees. And here are Celeste Carter and Dave Campbell, our fearless leaders here from the ATE co-directors. And now I'd like to move into student participation, give you a little overview about this really wonderful opportunity for students to attend and to encourage you to consider nominating students to participate in the event. So each year we award approximately 50 scholarships to ATE students to attend the conference, and that scholarship covers their registration, and we cover 2 nights lodging. So the project or center is responsible for covering the students' airfare and other travel expenses, and that again, as Elaine was talking about earlier, that's an allowable use of grant funds. and can be used through and can use the participant support costs for that as well. So each project or center may nominate up to 2 students or recent alums to attend the conference, and you have them complete and submit a student application, which can be found on our website. It's an online application form. Do note that if your nominated student is 18 years old or younger, we have some high school dual enrollment students that attend, you'll need the permission of a parent or guardian, and you'll need to have a dedicated faculty member to accompany the applicant to the conference. So if you still have time to nominate a student, if you've not done so, the deadline for student applications is Tuesday, September 12th, and AACC reviews those applications and will notify students and the PIs of those selected to attend by Friday, September 15th. And student activities include a recognition ceremony at a student breakfast, student-led sessions, the student showcases, which are part of the project showcases, and they also get a student tour of the National Air and Space Museum. So just to quickly touch on student sessions, so during the conference, students have the opportunity to present at various conference sessions. In the past, students have been a part of plenary sessions, concurrent sessions, and breakfast roundtables. The student showcase activity, the students are expected to showcase as part of the project showcases on either Tuesday or Wednesday. They prepare a display related to their program of study or their current work. And we really encourage all of you to stop by the student booths as well. So for many students, the AT conference marks the first time that some of these students have been on an airplane or traveled out of state. It really is an impactful event for them. So be sure to say hello and stop by and talk to the students as well when you're going through the showcases. So one of the highlights for the students is a student recognition breakfast that takes place on Tuesday morning, where they receive certificates and are recognized by NSF for their achievements at STEM at a breakfast held in their honor. And the nominating PIs are also encouraged and welcome to attend the breakfast with their students. We also offer students an industry speed networking session where they have the opportunity to meet accomplished business and industry professionals from a variety of backgrounds and companies. And it's a kind of a fast-paced speed dating sort of format where they're given the opportunity to learn and practice their interview and communication skills. And AACC will share a complete schedule of student events, a student guide to the AT conference, and offer a student orientation webinar on Thursday, September 21st. So we make sure all the students are aware of their conference activities and opportunities. So now we have another question break. And before we take questions, I'd like to see how many of you are planning to nominate students to attend the conference. I think if we have a show of hands, where can we do that? I think that's at the top. You should be able to do a show of hands. Or Tim, I'm not sure where they would do that. But if you want to enter, if anyone is, if folks are,
right.
A show of hands for anyone who's thinking about or planning to bring students to the event for this year. And then also any questions we might have at this point.
There's a raise hand button at the Adobe Connect menu at the top of your Adobe Connect screen. You could also type that in the
I think
chat.
some of you are planning to bring students.
We have a couple
So we
people
encourage you to
raising
do
their
so. And
hands.
if you have any questions on that process, feel free to let us know. All right, Tim, are there any additional questions at this time?
There are not any new questions, no.
Okay, well we will move forward. We're getting to the end of the webinar here, so if you have any additional questions, please do enter them into chat. We'll cover some other commonly asked questions such as conference attire, internet access, and ATE resources. So we mentioned this on a question break, but the attire is business casual. We do encourage you to dress in layers. Meeting rooms can be cool. And to wear comfortable shoes. The Omni is a beautiful hotel, but it is a historic hotel, which means things are laid out and on multiple levels, and the hall is way down to the back of the hotel. So there is a good amount of walking involved at the Omni. So again, we ask you to consider that when dressing for the event. Internet access, you will have complimentary wireless access in your sleeping room. So when you check in, you'll be given a code for the wireless access in your room. So that's complimentary. That we've negotiated that with the hotel. And then when you check in at registration, you'll be given a Wi-Fi code for meeting function space. So you'll have a one code for your room and then one code for the meeting itself that will work in our meeting rooms and in the common areas, just not in the exhibit hall. And that code will also be printed on the back of your name badge for access. Now I'd like to turn it over to Elaine to go over a few resources that may be of use to you.
Okay, thanks, Ellen. Just a few things I wanted to point out in terms of resources. And I will point out that all these URLs are in the handout that you were sent with your reminder about the webinar, so I would encourage you to print that off and you'll have them so you won't have to be frantically trying to write any of these down if you're interested. The first one on the list is ATE Central. The ATE resource that allows you to locate and use all resources across the ATE program is ATE Central. You can think of it as your ERIC or Google Scholar search tool for all things ATE. The teachingtechnicians.org website is your one-stop shop to find out about faculty development opportunities being offered by ATE grantees nationwide. We have more than 2,000 registered users who have an interest in technician and related STEM education, so this site can help you advertise at no cost an event that you may be sponsoring as part of your grant. It's a way to help you get to your target audience. And also, as in your role as a principal investigator and as a faculty member, you want to learn from others, and there's some fabulous faculty development opportunities across the ATE program, and this is a great way to get connected with those. Teaching Technicians also provides information through a compendium of research on technician education that can help inform your work and provide research-based strategies and references for your next grant proposal, and as Ellen mentioned earlier, also advice on how to find your program officer and connect with them. It's just a useful place to visit. The Mentor Connect website, if you need help preparing a competitive ATE grant proposal, or perhaps with the funding process, once you've been recommended for funding or initial project implementation, the Mentor Connect site is a great website to visit for that sort of help. ATETV.org provides amazing high-quality free, operative word free, video vignettes that you can access to help you recruit students and raise awareness of careers in advanced technology. Content from these videos has now been extracted to provide a way for you to build your own customized recruitment videos. The video creation tool and tutorial are located on the teachingtechnicians.org website, and we have a partnership with ATETV to make this available to you. High-Tech is another resource we wanted to point out. The High Impact Technology Exchange Conference is an event that provides a wealth of ideas and opportunities to connect with the ATE community. The conference is produced by a large collaboration of ATE centers and projects, and the next High-Tech conference will be in Miami, Florida next July. So we hope there are still hotels standing in Florida as we go into the new year. Things are looking a little iffy right now, and my heart goes out to all the folks in Texas and those in Florida that are in harm's way at this moment. So let's leave the world of resources and URLs for just a minute and look one more time at the deadlines. Ellen's mentioned some of them as well as I have, and it's just a very great help to those planning the conference if you are very diligent in adhering to the deadlines. Doing so helps Ellen Hause and her team do the very best job possible in facilitating this conference, and they do an amazing job, as you will see when you attend. If you are among the few who receive late award notices from NSF, and that does happen, we understand, AAC understands, and there are always a few awards still pending at this point in time in the year, and AACC will be more than happy to assist you after the registration deadline if you fall into that category. If you want to bring students to the conference, pay attention to that deadline. we have taken students to the conference most years, and I will tell you, it is a life-altering experience for these students. It is so worth the little bit of effort it takes on your part to get them there. It is a great opportunity for them to showcase the work that they're doing and to reward the best students in your ATE programs. If you want to exhibit this year and you really don't have a choice, you will be exhibiting this year. It's expected of you. That deadline for reserving the booth space is Tuesday, September 19th. As has been pointed out, there is no cost for that, but you have to take action. You will not have exhibit space if you do not request it. Please note that having a showcase space assignment it really is not automatic. So be sure you apply to get an assigned space for your exhibit. Very, very important is that cutoff date for hotel reservations. It is Tuesday, September 26th. The Omni Shoreham is a very large hotel, but it fills up every year for this conference, so don't procrastinate. Although the AACC has gone above and beyond, has a great overflow property identified, is going to run a shuttle service and all that, really there is no hotel in the area that will provide the proximity and convenience of being at the Omni. Conference days start early and they run through the evening, so it's really especially nice to be right there. So get on those hotel reservations right away if you haven't already. The conference registration deadline is also September 26th. So even if you've already registered as a PI, you still have time to add those extra people to your team that we've encouraged you to do. We want you to consider bringing those administrators, industry or academic partners, maybe even your evaluator, just fellow faculty members that you want to get excited about what you're doing in the ATE program. Bringing others with you is worth the additional expense to your project, and it will build support for your work at your institution. Involving others in the ATE-PI conference never fails to foster a better understanding of what it means to have an ATE grant. And the more enthusiasm you can generate for your project, the easier it will be for you to achieve your goals. This is the contact information that you will need to follow up on anything with Ellen and her team at AACC. They are extremely user-friendly, and so if you need something or having any difficulties whatsoever with going through any of these processes, I can appreciate the comment somebody put in the chat box that they feel like they're drinking from a hose, and that's true. It is a lot of information. But you're not alone. You've got help. Just reach out to us and let us help you through the process. And we're really excited about seeing you at the conference this year. So Ellen, I'm going to turn it back over to you now.
Thanks, Elaine. I think we've hit the end mark for the webinar. I wanted to take this opportunity to see if there are any final questions. And also to remind folks that the webinar is recorded, so the recording and the slides will be available on the conference website. We'll notify you when those are available, so you can share with your team members. But if there are any other questions, I don't know, Tim, I think we may have addressed what's in chat, but if there's any additional questions or if folks want to put any in, we're happy to address them. And we'd also like you to stay on for a moment because we're going to launch a short survey in just a second to see how we did on this webinar. Oh, that's a question I see about hotel if you're in the DC area. If you are one of the comp registrations on your grant, you are entitled to a complimentary hotel room for 2 nights. So that is whether you're in California or DC. So definitely take us up on that. As Elaine said, being in close proximity to the event with its long days would be a benefit. And yes, I can relate with the commute. I just want to point out also the Omni Shoreham, the area that it's in is in Woodley Park. It is literally 1 block from the red line of the Metro Rail, the Washington, D.C. Metro Rail system, which is rather user-friendly. The area itself is a walkable neighborhood. There are several restaurants, convenience stores, things that are adjacent to it. So to encourage you, you can get out and walk around not only the grounds, it's near Rock Creek Parkway, which is also a nice walk, but that there are things in close proximity to the hotel as well as the metro. I don't know, Elaine, if you wanted to add anything on the immediate area or what might be helpful for folks to know.
Oh, well, it's lovely, and it's just it's a great location. It's close to the zoo. If you happen to come early or stay late, it's just a quick walk up the hill to the zoo. And I have colleagues who tend to make that stop every year. And the Washington, D.C. Zoo is still free, right, Ellen?
I'm sorry, what is still free?
Zoo?
Oh, yeah,
the zoo?
The zoo is free as well, are all the Smithsonian, so if you get a chance to make it over to the National Mall. But yes, the zoo is considered a Smithsonian, and it's free and open to the public, so that's a fun one to walk through as well.
One other point, I don't think it's been made yet, but it is that you're not required to share rooms, and that applies to the students too. That was a big shock to our students when we took them, was that they got their own room at the hotel. So that's really a nice feature too.
I do see there's a question on the shuttle stop. The shuttle stop will actually be at the DuPont Hotel. So there is the DuPont Hotel is the hotel. It is literally right on DuPont Circle. That is our overflow hotel. So the shuttle buses will come to the front of that hotel to pick people up, to take them down the street to the Omni. Or, as I said, it's one metro stop and a very short ride. Or it's even walkable. It's just a rather long walk, so we would encourage you to take the metro or to take the shuttle between the two properties. And I will make a note to check with the hotel on the October 25th day. We should have rooms in our block, but I can follow. I have your name. I can follow up with you on that post webinar, and also check with the hotel to see if we need to add rooms to the 25th to our block, or if they are in fact full. If there aren't any other questions at this point, I would really like to thank Elaine for joining me today and welcoming you to the conference and helping to orient you to this event and to share our excitement to welcome you in person in October. With that, I think I will turn to ask our folks helping us host the webinar to turn to a short survey on the webinar itself, so we can determine how to make these better and more user-friendly for you. And again, look for the link to the webinar recording and the slides. That will come early next week. And if you have any questions, don't fail to get in touch with us. We're here and we're happy to help. Thank you.
And that does conclude our webinar. If you could take a moment to fill out the survey, that'd be very helpful for us. The recording will be sent out to you. And thank you for attending. Have a nice rest of your day.